You gave everything you had. You cared when everyone else turned away. You showed up consistently until one day you simply ceased. Not because it was your preference, but because something deep within you eventually fractured, and now you are the individual people can no longer reach. Let's discuss the indicators that suggest an empath has transitioned to the other side. Number 1, you stop justifying your actions. There was a period when you would pour your soul out, attempting to make others comprehend your emotions. You would compose lengthy messages, engage in late-night talks, and do whatever was necessary to be acknowledged. But now, quietness feels simpler. You have discovered that most people do not actually desire to understand. They merely want you to be convenient. Consequently, you stopped wasting your breath on clarifications that fall on deaf ears. When someone inquires about what is wrong, you just say nothing. Even when everything is crumbling inside, the emotional effort of making someone care finally became too burdensome to handle. Number 2, your phone remains silent by choice. Do you recall when you used to monitor your messages incessantly? When you would reply within moments because you did not want anyone to feel neglected the way you felt neglected. That iteration of you has vanished. Now your phone sits face down for hours, or perhaps days. Notifications accumulate, and you feel nothing. It is not that you are occupied. You are simply finished being the person who always initiates contact first. You have observed something telling. When you stop reaching out, most conversations simply vanish, and that provides all the information you need regarding where you truly stood in their lives. Number 3, you have perfected the art of surface-level connection. You can grin, laugh, and appear entirely present while revealing absolutely nothing genuine about yourself. It is as if you have constructed a glass partition around your internal world. People assume they know you, but they only recognize the version you permit them to see. You have become adept at asking questions, shifting focus, and keeping matters light. Because you have realized that vulnerability is just another term for providing someone ammunition they will eventually utilize against you, the true you stays guarded where it is safe from betrayal. Number 4, you no longer feel remorse for prioritizing yourself. This realization feels different. Empaths are conditioned on guilt. You felt terrible for saying no, for establishing boundaries, or for not sacrificing your well-being on the altar of everyone else's requirements. But something changed. You began noticing how the people who demanded the most from you offered the least in return. You saw how your exhaustion meant nothing to them as long as you remained functional. So, you stopped apologizing for safeguarding your peace. When someone labels you selfish now, you do not falter. You identify it as manipulation from individuals who profited from your selflessness. Number 5, you have stopped attempting to fix people. You used to see potential in everyone. You believed that if you just loved them intensely enough or supported them long enough, they would recover and grow. You carried their burdens as if they were your own. But you cannot rescue someone who does not wish to be rescued, and you learned this lesson the painful way. Now, when you see someone struggling, you feel compassion, but not an obligation. You have realized that everyone must walk their own journey, and you are no longer prepared to carry anyone on your back while they decline to use their own legs. Number 6, your energy has become highly selective. There was a version of you that provided energy to anyone who requested it. Friends, family, or strangers, it did not matter. Your door was always open, your shoulder always ready, but constant output without any input left you hollow. Now you protect your energy as if it is the most precious thing you possess, because it is. You have learned to identify energy vampires from a distance, the people who only call when they require a favor, or those who dump their trauma without asking if you have the capacity. You do not participate anymore. Your energy is kept for the very few who have demonstrated they will shield it the way you shielded theirs. Number 7, you have accepted that most connections were one-sided. This epiphany stings more than the actual departure of people. Looking back, you can see it vividly now. You were the one coordinating plans, checking in, remembering milestones, and showing up during crises. When you cease doing these things, you notice how rapidly people drift away. No one battles for you the way you battled for them. No one detects your absence the way you would have detected theirs. And while this reality is sharp, it also grants you freedom. You are no longer investing in ties that were always sustained by your effort alone. Number 8, you choose solitude over artificial connection. Most people dread being alone, but you have discovered something they have missed. Solitude is superior to being surrounded by people who make you feel isolated. You would rather sit in silence than feign enjoyment of shallow talk with people who do not truly see you. Your patience for fake friendship has fallen to zero. You have been through enough to realize that quality matters far more than quantity. An empty room feels more sincere than a crowded area full of people who would not be present if you stopped performing. Number 9, you have built walls that actually safeguard you. Empaths are told their sensitivity is a gift, but no one mentions the price tag. You have felt every emotion in the room as if it were your own. You have soaked up pain that was not yours to manage. You have been utilized as an emotional landfill by people who never once checked on your well-being. So you built walls, real ones, not to shut everyone out, but to keep yourself secure until someone proves they merit access to the genuine you. And you are no longer embarrassed by these barriers. They are not cold. They are intelligent. Number 10, you have stopped believing in closure. You used to require answers. Why did they depart? What did you do incorrectly? How could they treat you that way after everything? You would replay dialogues, scrutinize text messages, and search for the instant it all disintegrated. But you have learned that closure is a fantasy sold to people who are not ready to advance. Some people will never offer you answers because they do not have them, or worse, they do not believe you deserve them. So you generate your own closure now. You decide the chapter is finished. You stop waiting for apologies that are not coming and explanations that would not satisfy you regardless. Number 11, your empathy now arrives with boundaries. Here is what people misunderstand. Becoming guarded does not mean you stop caring. You still feel profoundly. You still notice when someone is in pain. The distinction is you no longer set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You can hold space for someone suffering without absorbing it. You can provide support without forfeiting your own stability. Your empathy shifted from a vulnerability people exploited into a strength you regulate. You give from your overflow now, not from your basic reserves. Number 12, you have learned that not everyone is entitled to your story. You used to be an open book. You shared your battles, your trauma, and your healing path, thinking that transparency would foster deeper bonds. Sometimes it did. Most times, it turned into gossip, criticism, or something people utilized to undermine you later. You have learned to be more discerning about who gets access to your history. Not everyone has earned the privilege to know your scars. Not everyone can be trusted with your truth. So now you share intentionally with people who have shown they can handle your heart with gentleness. Number 13, you are comfortable with being misunderstood. People who knew the old you do not recognize this person. They call you cold, distant, or changed. They are correct about one thing: you have changed. But what they perceive as coldness is actually self-preservation. What looks like distance is truly discernment. You have stopped explaining your evolution to people who profited from your brokenness. Let them misunderstand. Their view of you is no longer your crisis. You have made peace with being considered difficult by people who found you easy to damage. Number 14, you have realized that healing is not linear, and that is acceptable. Some days you feel robust, firm in your boundaries, and completely healed from your past. Other days, the old empath emerges and you feel everything intensely all over again. You have stopped criticizing yourself for this. Becoming cautious after being hurt repeatedly is not a final stop. It is a journey. You are not broken for guarding yourself. You are not icy for being careful. You are someone who loved with everything they possessed and got burned. And now you are learning to love in a different way, starting with yourself. Number 15, you know you cannot go back and you do not wish to. The old you is gone, and honestly, that is not a negative thing. That version of you gave until they were drained. This version understands their value. That version accepted crumbs. This version insists on respect or walks away. You cannot unsee what you have witnessed or unlearn what you have discovered. And while part of you yearns for the innocence of believing everyone had good motives, you would not exchange your awareness for anything. You have been reshaped by your pain, and there is power in that. So here is the truth nobody mentions. Sometimes the kindest individuals become the most guarded, not because they ceased caring, but because they finally began caring about themselves. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and tell me which point hit the hardest for you. Was it number 7? Number 12? I want to know your journey, and if you found value in this, share it with someone who needs to hear that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is survival. You used to be the one who stayed up until dawn fixing hearts that weren't your responsibility to repair. You were the person who felt the weight of every room you walked into, absorbing the heaviness of others like it was your own oxygen. But the version of you that lived for everyone else has slowly faded away. It wasn't a sudden departure, but a gradual realization that your kindness was being treated like a revolving door. Now, you have entered a phase of your life that some might call cold, but you know it is simply clarity. Let's explore the signs that you have finally decided to put your own soul first. First, your circle has shrunk, and you are perfectly fine with the silence. You no longer feel the frantic need to fill every gap in a conversation or to check in on people who only remember you when their own lives are in chaos. You have noticed that when you stopped being the one to carry the bridge, the connection simply collapsed. Instead of mourning those lost bridges, you are enjoying the view from your own side. You've realized that being alone is a sanctuary compared to the exhaustion of being misunderstood by people you fought to keep. Second, you have developed a sharp intuition for hidden agendas. You can see a manipulator from a mile away, and instead of trying to love the pain out of them, you simply step out of their path. You've stopped being the fixer because you finally understood that some people use their brokenness as a tool to keep you anchored to their problems. Your empathy hasn't disappeared, but it has become a closed garden. Only those who bring peace are allowed entry. Third, you have stopped apologizing for your no. There was a time when a simple refusal would keep you awake at night with guilt. You would write paragraphs of excuses just to justify why you couldn't show up. Now, no is a complete sentence. You understand that your time and energy are finite resources, and giving them away to people who don't respect them is a betrayal of yourself. Fourth, you no longer seek validation from the very people who tried to break you. You've stopped asking for apologies that you know will never come. You have realized that your healing is your own job, and waiting for someone else to admit they were wrong is just another way of giving them power over your future. You've taken that power back. Fifth, you have mastered the poker face of the soul. You can be polite, kind, and helpful without giving away the keys to your inner world. You've learned that not everyone deserves to see your tears or hear your dreams. You share your heart selectively now, like a rare treasure rather than a public map. This isn't because you are hiding, but because you are protecting the most sacred parts of who you are. Sixth, you have accepted that you will be the villain in someone else's story, and you are okay with that. When you stop being easy to use, people will start calling you difficult. When you start setting boundaries, they will call you mean. You've realized that their labels are just a reflection of their frustration at losing control over you. Seventh, you have shifted your focus from saving the world to saving yourself. You are finally pouring that immense, beautiful empathy into your own healing. You are learning to be the person for yourself that you always tried to be for everyone else. This new version of you is stronger, wiser, and remarkably peaceful. You aren't over it, you are above it. You are no longer available for the drama, the one-sided effort, or the emotional theft. You have claimed your life back, and for the first time, the person you are taking care of is you. The transformation within you happened quietly, but with a profound intensity. You were once the person who believed that if you just held on a little tighter or listened a little longer, you could mend the fractures in everyone you encountered. You functioned as a human lighthouse, guiding people through their storms while your own foundation was being eroded by the waves. But something has fundamentally shifted in your spirit. You have reached a point where you no longer feel the obligation to be the world's emotional safety net. Let's look at the deeper indicators that you have evolved into a guarded, empowered version of yourself. First, your tolerance for superficiality has vanished completely. You find no joy in the polite interactions that stay on the surface while people hide their true intentions. You would rather spend a weekend in total isolation than 10 minutes in a room full of masks. This isn't because you have become antisocial. It is because you have become deeply authentic, and anything less than that feels like an insult to your intelligence. Second, you have stopped providing an audience for people who refuse to change. You used to spend hours offering advice, only to watch those same individuals repeat the same destructive patterns. Now, when someone brings you the same drama for the 10th time, you listen with a kind but distant silence. You've realized that your energy was actually fueling their stagnation, and by stepping back, you are finally giving them the chance to face themselves. Third, you have embraced the power of being the quiet one. There was a time when you felt the need to prove your worth by being helpful or vocal. Now, you find strength in the things you don't say. You observe more than you speak. You notice the small shifts in tone, the subtle lies, and the manipulative patterns that you use to ignore in the name of giving the benefit of the doubt. You see the truth clearly now, and you don't feel the need to argue about it. You just adjust your distance accordingly. Fourth, you have reconciled with your past self. You no longer look back at your younger, more naive self with shame. Instead, you look back with a fierce, protective love. You realize that you weren't stupid for trusting. You were brave for being open in a world that wasn't ready for your depth. This self-compassion has become your new armor. Fifth, you have stopped trying to convince people of your value. If someone doesn't see the worth in your presence, you don't try to work harder to earn their respect. You simply move on. You've learned that the right people don't require an instruction manual to treat you with kindness. Sixth, you have started to find beauty in your coldness. What others describe as you being distant, you recognize as your inner peace being finally undisturbed. Your boundaries are not walls built of hate, they are fences built of self-respect. You are finally living for an audience of one. You are no longer the person who dies so that others can live. You are the person who has finally decided to survive. This version of you is not broken. You are finally whole, and that is why you no longer have any missing pieces to give away. The shift you are experiencing is the silent roar of a soul that has finally had enough. You spent years acting as a reservoir for everyone else's droughts, pouring yourself out until the very bottom of your being was cracked and dry. You were the one who remembered every detail, the one who anticipated every need, and the one who stayed long after the lights went out, just to make sure no one else felt alone. But the moment you stopped, the world didn't stop with you. It simply looked for the next person to lean on. That realization was the final blow that changed you forever. Let's explore the further signs that you have moved into this era of sacred self-preservation. 1. You have lost the desire to win people over. In the past, if someone disliked you or misunderstood your intentions, it would eat at you for days. You would obsess over how to fix the dynamic and restore the peace. Now, if someone has a poor opinion of you, you let them keep it. You've realized that people's perceptions are often just reflections of their own internal shadows, and you are no longer willing to be the mirror they use to check their reflection. 2. You have become a master of the graceful exit. You no longer stay at parties, in jobs, or in conversations that feel draining just to be polite. You've learned how to walk away without a grand explanation or a dramatic scene. You simply vanish from spaces that don't nourish you, understanding that your absence is the most powerful boundary you can set. 3. You have stopped being the emotional translator for toxic people. You used to spend so much time making excuses for why someone treated you poorly, telling yourself they had a hard childhood or they were just stressed. You translated their cruelty into pain so you could keep loving them. You've stopped doing that labor. Now, you call it what it is. If it hurts you, it's not your job to figure out why they did it. It's your job to get away from it. 4. You find a strange comfort in being the bad guy. When you stop accommodating everyone's ego, they will inevitably paint you as the villain. They will say you've changed, that you're acting superior, or that you're being heartless. You've reached a level of maturity where those labels feel like medals of honor. If being heartless means you finally kept your heart for yourself, then you wear that title with pride. 5. You no longer feel the need to share your wins with people who weren't there for your losses. You've become very private about your happiness. You realize that some people don't actually want to see you do well. They just want to stay updated on your life so they can compare it to theirs. Now, your joy is a private garden that only a select few are invited to witness. 6. You have accepted that you are the only one who can truly provide the safety you were looking for in others. You've stopped searching for a home in other people and have started building one inside your own skin. You are no longer an orphan of the heart looking for a place to belong. You are the architect of your own peace. 7. You recognize that this version of you is the most honest version that has ever existed. You aren't being mean, you aren't being cold, and you aren't being difficult. You are simply being real. You have stripped away the layers of people-pleasing that were suffocating your true self. The world might miss the person you used to be because that person was convenient, but you don't miss them at all. You are finally standing in your own light, and if that light is too bright for some, they are free to look away. You are no longer here to be consumed. You are here to exist on your own terms.